Alrighty. Well, hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. For anyone that I haven't met yet, and probably for the benefit of anybody watching the recording, I'm Sam Cameron, a manager of the CSU Advancement Academy. And then, of course, for anyone that doesn't know, the Academy, of course, runs our professional development programs for various areas of advancement, including plant giving, which we'll be talking a little bit about today. So for today's session, the Academy has partnered with the CSU Systemwide CGA program to provide an overview of some of the changes that are coming to the resources and the processes available to our campus partners through that program. Before I turn it over to my colleague Wendy, that's going to dive into those details, I'm just going to cover a couple pieces of housekeeping. Excuse me. Foremost, this session is being recorded and we will share the recording within 2 days. And then it will also live along with the other CGA resources on the System-wide Advancement intranet in the longer term. For the benefit of those watching the recording, which will probably be a lot of people in the coming months, we will address questions in one chunk at the end after the presentation. But if you do have an urgent item or a question, you didn't hear something, or you didn't see maybe where Wendy clicked on one of the tutorials, feel free to jump off of mute and call our attention. We're happy to repeat ourselves there. We do ask that you share any written questions via the Q&A pod in Zoom and not in the chat. The Q&A pod is just way easier to keep track of everybody's questions. And please don't directly message them to Wendy because she'll be busy presenting. Now is a good time to find that Q&A pod on your Zoom menu. So check out the listings there. You might have to click more and then the Q&A. And then I also invite everybody to please add your CSU's short name to your Zoom display name so that we can all know where you're joining us from. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Wendy.
Great. So thank you very much. I'm going to start sharing my secondary screen here. And find everybody. Alrighty. So hello, I'm Wendy Chavira Garcia, and I serve as the Vice President of the CSU Foundation and the Senior Manager of Development and Donor Relations for the Chancellor's Office. Thank you for joining today to review the CGA System-wide Charitable Gift Annuity Program. This session is designed to share updates of the program and as well as a refresher for those who haven't worked on a CGA in a while. I see a variety of participants have joined us today, from plan giving directors I work with regularly to some new names. I'll take some time to review the program details. For those not familiar with the program, we'll take about 30 minutes to review the materials and we'll hold 15 minutes at the end for any questions. This presentation will be recorded, like Sam said, and saved on our SharePoint advancement site, which houses all of our CGA material for future reference. So I'm excited to share new tools and resources with you today. Today we'll cover how to navigate those updated CGA resource guide and what changes we have made to the documents, the step-by-step process for coordinating a CGA, some guidance on matured CGAs, and we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. Just a quick refresher for those that are not as familiar with what a charitable gift annuity is. It's a contract between a donor and the CSU Foundation. The donor makes an irrevocable gift and in return receives a fixed lifetime payment. When the annuity ends, the remaining funds, the residual, will go to the campus designated by the donor. This program offers income, tax benefits, and the satisfaction of supporting students and programs across the CSU. Our focus today is only the system-wide CGA program administered by the CSU Foundation. Out of 23 campuses, 21 of our campuses participate in this program. We launched it in 1999 as a way to assist with regulatory and administrative burdens of managing annuities. The foundation handles the trust compliance, state filings, and gift processing, allowing you to focus on donor relationships. We serve as the fiscal agent, register in different states when feasible. We partner with BNY Wealth for trust management, and we use PG Calc's PGM Anywhere software for the CGA illustrations. We have a memorandum of understanding with each of the participating campuses that outlines what the role of the CSU Foundation is, that of the campus, and BNY Wealth. Various campuses use the CGA program a lot more than others. Some we have no annuities with, some we receive a couple quarterly. Here's where we stand. As of now, we have currently 150 active annuities. The total value is approximately $9.3 million as of this month. The average residuum when a CGA closes is 105%. The goal for these is to get at least 50%. That's what the ACGA rates are meant to generate. That's the American Council of Gift Annuities. So it's definitely a very healthy program. Not only are we fulfilling donor promises, but we're also exceeding the projected charitable outcomes for the campuses. There are some annuities that go underwater. We currently have one that has been exhausted. Most of these, for various factors, will go down to zero. That might be because they started in 1999. We have a couple from the beginning of the program. The age of the donor, if they're over 100 years old, there's various factors that kind of go into that. A couple things to note. Currently, the age just to start getting annuity payments is 55, and our minimum and maximum are $10,000 or max 10% of the pool. We're currently looking at this because we're trying to see how we can better support the universities with accepting these higher dollar amount annuities, and that might mean, increasing the age, increasing the minimum. We'll kind of review that at the end of the presentation. So what are we reviewing today? The system-wide resource guide is saved in the SharePoint resource folder and replaces what we used to call the CGA binder. It has an overview of the materials and index for them, the program reference guide, a new application form, which we'll start using in lieu of the checklist, the PGM Anywhere illustration instructions, and a submission checklist. It also has the attachments that you would provide the donor, the direct deposit instructions, the gift delivery instructions, and the W-9 form. These tools are designed to make your work easier and to ensure accuracy across all submissions. You'll also find a couple of other folders in there, such as the sample MOU, a FASB memo, and report, an example of an annuity assignment letter if the annuitant wants to close the annuity earlier, and some past conference notes. So looking at the guide, let me first share where it's located. So Sam will share the link in the chat for everybody to access. If you don't have access, you can request access and we can give it to you after the presentation. I would navigate this as the step-by-step documents are in folder A, then followed by the attachments, additional PGM Anywhere resources, program documents that include the MOU, assignment letter, what the policy and procedures that outline the age and amount requirements, what the role is of the foundation, what the role is of the campuses and BNY, an example FASB report. Going into the reference guide, we'll first start, definitely take a time to go through each of these in detail. I want to review in more detail the reference guide today and the application form. Let me open the guide. So it's designed to support the communication between your office and ours, the steps in terms of engaging the donor, starting by if you're discussing with the CGA with the donor, what we're going to ask is that we start doing a CGA application form. And the form, take it as like an intake form. We used to do this as a checklist, but we're asking the donor for all of this material that you'll use to then insert into an illustration. So it asks the legal address, mailing address, state of legal residency. This is important because we want to make sure we're registered in the state that the donor lives in. Most of our annuities are in California, the 150. I think only 15 are out of state. What their preference is in terms of the type of gift annuity: immediate deferred, flexible deferred, testamentary. If it's a single life, two life. The type of payments that they prefer to receive. We're highlighting preference in direct deposit because it helps us avoid stale data checks, lost checks. What assets will they be using? Check, securities, mutual funds, IRA, QCDs, real estate. We do accept real estate via simultaneous sale and through a consultant. We don't have the resources in-house for that, so we consult out. And then additional information about the gifts or the assets that they're intending to use. And then we have a section that we would ask for the donor to acknowledge that they received the disclosure statement. So we would provide the donor the CGA application form, get the information that you need to do. You can do a draft PGM Anywhere illustration, save the case. You can do different variations of it, so they have an example of what the annuity payments would look like and those tax benefits. You can generate the disclosure statement from PGM Anywhere as well. And if they're interested in proceeding, then they would complete the form in its entirety. You can review the CGA agreement as a draft with them and what other materials they would need from us. Well, we need from them: the W-9 form, the Being Wealth direct deposit form. An important step here is to confirm where the donor is an annuity, where they're a resident from. We're not registered with Washington or in New York at the moment. They just have a lot more strict requirements that we haven't been able to dedicate the time to register with them. Other states are a lot easier. Other states have just different requirements. So we kind of want to review that in the beginning of these conversations. When drafting the agreement, there's a couple of documents that we need. You don't have to present all the presentations that are available there for the donor, but the ones listed here are the ones that we're asking for. And let me show you on PGM Anywhere what that looks like. So under presentations, oops, not saving, I'm opening. Under presentations, you would select summary benefits with numbers, which is a diagram, summary of benefits, basic charts, the taxation, actuarial calculations. If these are too technical for the donor that you're talking with and you don't want to show these, that's fine. We just need them in the final agreements. Some want more information, and that's fine as well. These are the minimum things that we need. Other folks decide to show a lot more information. Play around with these in PGM Anywhere to see what you're comfortable with in terms of showing the donor. The disclosure statement is also found under narrative, so you can definitely run it here as you open a case and start working on these. If it has old data, let us know and we'll update them. We want to make sure it has at least from June 30th of the current fiscal or the prior fiscal year updated numbers. And this is where you would also highlight the gift agreement and start working on a draft for that. For the assets themselves, it really is important to talk to the donor to see what assets they will be using, because the gift date will vary in how it is received, the date that it's received, etc., and that will have us change the gift agreement for those dates. So If it's a check payable to the CSU Foundation, not your individual philanthropic foundation, how you receive it, if you're meeting with the donor in person, then it's the date you receive it as a plan giving director, or if we receive it directly. If it's mailed, it's postmarked. If it's FedEx, it's date received. For FedEx, it's because the donor can always pull it back, and they mark it as we have to receive it. That's important during the Christmas time, December, because our office is closed, and making sure we get the check in time. For securities, we would use the BNY Wealth gift delivery instructions, either for California or the multi-state. We have 2 accounts. If it's for California, you would send that version, multi-state the other, based on the donor's residency. That's based on when the date BNY receives the transfer, not when it's transferred. It's when they receive the assets at BNY Wealth. They will calculate the fair market value, and they confirm the gift date, and then send us that information. We'll update the gift agreement accordingly, and then that's what the donor will use to sign. The IRA is a little different. It has to be directly transferred from the IRA custodian. If the donor receives it first, it may become a taxable event. So we want to make sure that's clearly communicated. And for the gift date for those, it's the date funds are transferred from the IRA account, not when we receive them. And we'll see that either on the check date or the transfer date of the form. For real estate, we definitely can do a simultaneous sale. We have a couple of consultants that we know that we can connect you to. It is a fee, but it's in lieu of salary for a specialist in real estate for that. We have a gift agreement for real estate in place that we recently updated, so we definitely can assist in that area as well. For finalizing the gift, once everything has been received, the PG, before the donor signs the agreement, please send it to us, and the assets. Please send it to us to review, approve, dot the I's, cross the T's. Once it's ready to go, then that's when we initiate the transfer of the assets and then signing of the agreement. Each of the annuitants would sign a W-9 form. For the direct deposit form, having that conversation if they're open to receiving direct payment, and just reminding everyone that the disclosure statement should be provided with the application. That's something that they should know from the beginning, that what is the CGA, that it's not a commercial investment, the rates that we use, how we back the annuity with the CSU Foundation assets. It shows the board governance for the foundation and our contact information. So that's definitely something I want to highlight to make sure that we give to the donors in the beginning. We would get signatures from the donor, the president of your philanthropic foundation. Sometimes they're the executive director. And then all of the signed documents will be sent to us. The preference is through Move It, which is a secure CSU data transfer service that we all have access to as CSU employees. If you're on campus, you have access to it. If you're working from home, you would have to log into your VPN. You would send it to myself and copy Donnie, my colleague. All is in one packet. So we're not receiving the different documents piecemeal. If you need to mail it or send us hard copies, please use FedEx or UPS, and the address is listed there of where to find us. We process the annuity. We'll do the countersign copy with the foundation president's signature. We would send everything to BNY. We provide the donor, and we'll provide you a copy of the tax acknowledgement letter that goes out. Funds are deposited into the Charitable Gift Annuity Fund that we have with BNY Wealth. Payments will go out automatically, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually, depending on what the donor chooses at the end of that period. Typically 5 days before the end of the month, we issue things out. Annually, donors will receive a Form 1099-R in late January, at the end of January, for their tax reporting purposes. We have copies of that, so we can share that. If they lost it, if they didn't receive it, we can share with you that information. For ongoing management for these, we make sure that we monitor the annuities, ensure compliance with state and federal regulations. We do quarterly and annual reports to the state of California. We meet quarterly with BNY to ensure we're up to date with processing everything. However, we speak with them regularly throughout the month as well. BNY Wealth also presents at our foundation board meetings. They highlight activity and investments for the quarter. Turning to matured annuities and closing them, I just want to take a moment to go through the process, especially if it's new for you. When an annuity passes away, it's critical that we receive prompt notification. A death certificate or obituary notice is sufficient. This just ensures our payment, we can stop the payments on time and that the residuum is distributed appropriately. Overpayments must be recovered. Annuities are entitled only to the final payment preceding their date of death. Per IRS regulations, we need to make a concerted effort to recover those payments. So the timing of letting us know is really important. Each year, because we distribute the FASB reports for all annuities annually in July, that would be a great time to take a moment just to check with your advancement services team on the list of your annuitants and just let us know if there's anyone that has passed away that you flagged in your system. Final residuum distributions are made after our administrative fee is applied. Currently, that's 5%. And then a couple of things to highlight before I close this document. Again, provide the disclosure statement before the gift is executed. We only use CGA rates, and I've had some folks ask me before that that a donor is trying to shop rates. We don't do that. We just do the CGA rates. They can take a lower rate, but most people don't do that. Encourage folks to do a direct deposit form just to avoid stale dated and lost checks. If the donor changes when they're sending an asset, the timing of the asset, and they already signed the agreement, we will have to update the illustration in the agreement and ask them to re-sign the form. So it's really important to get that final gift date in place. The end of this guide just lets you know what the attachments are, which are back in that SharePoint folder, and who to contact. Let me close this out. And I will stop there to take any, let me go back to this form. I will stop there to take any questions. I just want to highlight again, this is where the documents live. Use folder A as your guide. We are going to make the application a fillable PDF, so you can just kind of type in there, but that you can always write on it as well, but we'll make it fillable. What else is included is this PGM Anywhere illustration instructions. If you haven't used it in a while, we have two things. We have a recording that goes through training. You can also go to PGM Anywhere and sign up for a webinar. And this document just kind of serves as step-by-step. You start a new case, you enter the information, and it has screenshots that kind of guide you through each of those processes. I included in here too what you would need to include for an agreement. One thing under purpose of the gift that I want to highlight is that to make these, because a gift annuity is a contract, right? So we want to make these as flexible as possible. Under the purpose of the gift, standard language should be the benefit as described in the donor's most recent gift agreement on file at, and then you would enter your university's name. This leaves it flexible. So if the donor changes their mind in 5, 10, 20 years, they can update your gift agreement that you have on file versus the annuity contract. It's a little more easier to do. It lists how to list out information for Schedule A, which is the type of asset that was used and kind of what the naming conventions would be there. It includes information on revocation language, and this is very particular. Like it's related to making a gift taxable to a annuitant. If a person is single If it's a spouse who's an annuitant, it's not a problem. You just say no. Otherwise, you would want to select yes, something to kind of take a look at. You would enter your information at the end and kind of finalize that. The other tool in PGM Anywhere is the present value of a bequest tool, which has been very helpful for other reasons. If you haven't seen one in a while, these are, if you see this version, you're looking at the wrong one. You should see one that has your campus logo, colors, and icon here. This is the one for the CSU Foundation specifically, but we've have updated these each for each of the universities. If something looks odd, if the resolution is off, if the color is off, please let us know and we'll update those. Send us updated high resolution files and we can update those as well. So we haven't seen those in a while. Let us know, but this is kind of the look and feel of the illustration. When you run the presentation, you can include the disclosure statement there as well, and then the sample of the annuity at the end. The checklist here as a refresher, so we're kind of all on the same page. It just confirms the information that we need when we complete these. So confirming that we have the GIF assets, signed agreement, what is in the illustration, those specific presentations that I highlighted. I named them exactly how they're named in PGM Anywhere. The signed form. And this is really the reason that we use Move It to Transfer Files, because it has the donor's social security number on it. So we want to keep it safe. The completed application form, so we have reference of it as well. The disclosure statement copy, because it's per state as well. So you would use it as California, Arizona, whatever state they're a resident of. And the direct deposit form with a voided check. We do need a voided check or a former letter from the bank in doing those, and instructions on PG Calc. So use this as the checklist for submitting if you have questions on how to send that to us. And I included the illustration there. I'm going to make these as PDFs, and this is a fillable form, but it's here now for you to reference as you need. And I'll stop there. So I'll turn to Sam for the questions on the chat, and then feel free to raise your hands as well as we go along.
Uh, uh, some sidebar conversations on getting folks access to the SharePoint site, but no questions as of yet. So
Oh, good.
folks are welcome to raise their hand and just bring them up now.
If you need time to digest some of this stuff, that's great too. Always feel free to give me a call or contact me. It's the same process that we've been kind of doing with a couple of tweaks and a couple of different ways of kind of showing this. We've had so many new people start that we wanted to document it.
Any point in particular, Wendy, you want to highlight to folks that might be different from the last process?
The application is new. That's something that a couple of people let me know about last quarter. We had been doing a checklist instead, where we were asking the plan giving person to kind of fill out everything. The application form kind of helps the donor think through it, get all the questions that we really need for that illustration, and serve as a talking point to review with the donor. So that's a big one. The checklist is big because sometimes we were receiving that packets piecemeal, and it's hard for our office to kind of put them all together when it's via email. So sharing it as one complete piece is definitely something we wanted to highlight. And then, like I said, we're looking at a couple of tweaks to the policy itself, which we'll review this year, so we can kind of be more comfortable accepting $1 million CGA. Yeah. Ray?
Thanks. And just a note, that application is going to be a big help, actually, having the donor be the one to sort of, think through the questions and come at it from their side. It's a huge, huge benefit. So thanks for making that change.
Thank you for suggesting it. Anybody else?
And if anybody is continuing to have any technical difficulties getting access to the SharePoint site, just send me an email. As I called out in the chat, I'm the one that approves those. And if like things are not going the way they're supposed to, I can provide some additional troubleshooting.
You have to use the email or log in through your work computer, right? Not
Yes,
personal email.
yes.
I put my hand up again only to say how much I appreciated working with Wendy and team for our first annuity in a long time in the fall, and found it really successful. And so if anybody in the call hasn't worked with the CSU team yet and done one, the water's fine. Put your toe in and jump all the way in. It was really, from having done it before all myself at previous places to having Wendy and Donnie and team help. I mean, what a huge all benefit. And so thank you, Wendy, for all your great work, and thanks, Ann.
Thank you. And then the reminder here internally, the donor communications is with your campus. So the marketing, what you send out to a donor annually, how do you keep in touch with them? There's some folks that did CGAs 10, 20 years ago. If they haven't done a touch point in a while, that's all based on with your individual universities. We try not to contact the donor unless you need us to, or if they came through us, because the checks come through like the CSU Foundation name, and we'll try to route them back to you. Also, if you want more information or have the one-on-one conversation with me, feel free to reach out to me. We can kind of review. Most of my contacts are the plan giving officers, but I know there's some advancement services folks here. So if you have questions on that side too, let me know. Great. Going once, going twice. I will give you back your time.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for logging on and getting excited about this new process. Kudos, Wendy, for a great presentation. You were super thorough. And we're looking forward to getting a lot more CGAs from everybody across the system very shortly. So best of luck.